Hello and welcome back to another little video. Today's job, I'm going to redo these 3 tubs that I have on my front garden. They were doing okay until Sunday, when we had almost a mini tornado here. We had, for 20 minutes, we had winds of 75 miles an hour, and that really put paid to the plants. Really, it's blown them all about and broke some of them off. So I've made the it's now November anyway. Now it's time, to change them over from the summer bedding to what I call the winter spring bedding. So the first job to do is I'll remove the plants, and then we'll come back and have another look then. So with my tubs, I don't take all of the compost out and replace it every time. I mean, that gets very expensive. I do like to remove maybe the top 5, maybe 6 inches of compost and replace that. Underneath here, this is a peat-free multi-purpose modern type compost I've got in here, but in probably another 4 or 5 inches down in this tub, I've got a very gritty, almost like a soil-based compost, which I find gives extra good drainage. Certainly, if you're putting bulbs in tubs, you want the best drainage that you can get, because you don't want the bulbs to sit in any wet, because they, in the winter time, they will soon go squishy and go bad, and you won't get any flowers at all. So as I just take the top 5 or 6 inches of compost off, and then also that gives you a good place that you can put your bulb before you put your replacement compost on. I'm going to sort of kind of multi-layer this a little bit with my bulbs, and what I'm going to put in to start with is some of those small daffodils called tete-a-tete, and I shall just arrange them round. I also want to get probably some pansies and polyanthus in this tub as well. So I'm going to have to put a mental note of where I put the bulbs, and then not plant. It wouldn't be a disaster if I planted some pansies or polyanthus over where the bulbs are, because bulbs find their way through, so it's not the end of the world. But to say, basically, I should just put the bulbs in. We tip them out there, just put them in sort of little groups there, quite close to the edge there. You always want to make sure your bulbs are nice and firm. If you've got any soft or squishy ones, don't bother setting them. You can see this has got you perhaps won't see that, but it's got a nice shoot coming on that already, so we know that's going to grow. It's my bag blowing off there, I must pick that up in a minute. And as I say, we should just put these round the edge of the tub in little groups of sort of 5s there I've got, and then we might have another group there. And as I say, they were the tete-a-tete small. They'll come up to about like the. They are called narcissus, but hopefully they will do well. And we'll just finish that. I've got the same here again. Now I'm not too sure of that bulb, but I'm going to set that. It does feel firm there, but so that's a nice grouping of our daffodils there. So I've now filled my tub up with a bit of fresh compost, roughly to what height it might need a little bit more, and I've got some markers, some little bits of stick where my narcissus tete-a-tete are, so I know roughly where those are. And now I'm going to, there again, just push these in little groups, and it doesn't matter if these actually go on top of the daffodils, because these are Iris reticulata, and these should flower in February, early to mid-February sometimes if the weather's right, or at the latest it'll be the end of February. So one hopes that these will be out the way and finish flowering, and then you've got the dafts to come on a little bit later. So you've got two goes at the bulbs kind of thing. So it doesn't matter in actual fact if these, I should push these in. These you don't want to set these too deep, but there again, never worry if you set bulbs too deeply. It's not the end of the world. I just like to push these in, and so they're well covered. And so we'll get on and make some little groups of these. So that's all you need to do, is just push them in the compost basically. Very easy. They push in very easy, these do. I should think most they're going in perhaps 2 inches at the maximum, but as I say, it doesn't worry. Your bulbs will find. Now there's a that is a totally squishy one, and it's all nasty in the middle. So obviously it's pointless. Unfortunately, it's just the supplier obviously can't go through every single bulb that they send you. One left in the bag. So there we go, that's our iris. So we've got a layer of 3 groups of small narcissus, tete-a-tete in there, and our iris reticulata roughly on top of the dafts, obviously because they're going to flower first, and the dafts will come through after. It doesn't matter if the dafts, push through with their foliage. It won't affect the iris. There'll be room for everything there. And so we can now think about what else we're going to put in here, replants or any other bulbs. So I've now decided that I'm going to put 3 of my jolly nice little polyanthus that I've grown. Made lovely plants, got a super root, and I'm going to put 3 in the middle of this tub. So it's got a lovely root system, that has. And you can just make the hole there with your fingers. It's the compost is very soft, and I will put some pictures up of what these polyanthus hopefully will look like when they flower. It doesn't matter if you get them quite tight together there, they'll all be okay. Obviously it's nice to see a little bit of greenery and the odd flower that they'll put on in the winter if the weather isn't too bad. I don't like sort of bare tubs. You could, if you live in a very wet area, you could, on top of your tub, and it looks quite nice if you've got some like pea shingle or horticultural grit, you could put a little layer of that, and that stops obviously the plants getting splashed when it rains hard. I never do that. As I say, these are on a south facing front garden, but even in the winter they do get wet. But I if you did so want to make the tubs nice. And another thing, these are very old tubs. These are made out of recycled plastic, and they've been given many years service, these tubs. But one thing, if you've got a tub with a lip like this where I can get my finger round, a big sort of overhang lip. When you're sort of every so often, you want to run your finger around that lip, because I find that I get slugs and snails living in that lip. And I've washed these tubs and cleaned these tubs up also, which is another good idea when you're changing from summer to sort of winter or spring bedding. And I found about 6 snails all living in this lip under here. And obviously, if you wonder why you set plants like pansies and then you're losing big chunks of them, they're disappearing, it could be slugs and snails. So it's always worth, if you've got a lip on your tubs, I mean these are very old tubs, and there's many variations, but whatever you put your plants in, you can still get slugs and snails in tubs, believe me. And there we go, it's got another lovely root system, that has. So we'll drop that one in there, like so. And likewise, do remember, this compost has been in a bag in the greenhouse, and so it's quite dry. Obviously, when you set anything out this time of the year, be it in a tub or in the garden, do remember, or even if the soil is wet, still give it a water in. I think that's very important with plants. So there we go. And we shall now take some of our pansies, and there again, these have made lovely plants. Can't get it out of the pot even, it's so, look at that, it's got a super root system. And I've got no, even plants you buy from garden centres, you always want to look out when you're buying plants that they haven't got any sort of grey mould or botrytis on the lower leaves. Very important this time of the year, because once you've got that, you often find, particularly on polyanthus like these, that it can decimate the whole plant. So if you're buying plants, have a good look round the bottom leaves, and you've got no grey mould on any of those leaves. And the bottom leaf, you should still be able to see the bottom seed leaves, which mine are just slightly going a little bit yellow there, but they should still be, and it's just a question of setting those in. So I shall carry on doing that, and we'll come back in a few minutes. So there we go, we've got our pansies round and our polyanthus in the middle, we've got our bulbs there and there and there. There's enough room for those to come up. So the bulbs will, if the bulbs push the leaves of the pansies and polyanthus, it won't matter at all. They'll find their way back through. I'm probably like to cram too much in my tubs, particularly my summer tubs. But I do like to see some greenery this time of the year, and so these pansies, I have, like I said in my last video, while they've been in the greenhouse, I have been nipping the flowers off, but now I shan't, and I shall let them flower. So that within I'll give regular updates of how this tub is doing and what it looks like, and so these pansies will have the occasional flower, and if it's a mild winter, they could flower right throughout the winter, you hope, all dependent on the weather. Nobody can guarantee what kind of weather we're going to get here in the UK. As I said, on Sunday here we had a horrendous, there was a thin band of a storm stretched from Dorset right up to Lincolnshire, and in this thin band it lasted about 20 minutes here. The wind reached between 75 and 80 miles an hour, and we have a little pocket park in our village, which is looked after by village people, and they lost 20 trees were blown down there in the space of 20 minutes. So you never know quite what the weather, and that's why I'm doing these tubs. I was going to leave them a little bit longer, but they got so bedraggled in this horrendous wind we had. But what I'm going to do now, I've got some crocus, and these are called chrysanthemum crocus, cream beauty, there again, I'll put a picture of those. I'm just going to stick some in between, you know, around the edge of the tub. There again, there's no need really to set these very deeply, and it's just a question of we tip them out. You can see these are wanting to grow off. They've got nice shoots on, lovely bulbs these are. And then, you know, we can just put little groups, perhaps a group of 3 there, and they should flower there again in February or at the latest very early March. But you'd hope they'd be, you know, in a tub, that they would be out before that. And I shall put, you know, just as I say, push them in. And if you haven't got enough compost, you can just get a handful of compost and cover them over. But I think I've got enough in this tub just to cover those over. And then this tub will have a good water. And that's my bulbs there, so I'm not going to put any on top of there. I like to just tap the tub round to settle the compost down a little bit, and that's another section of bulbs that I've got there, so I won't put any crocus there. And we'll put another 3 or 4 there. There we go. So cover those over with some compost. A little bit of a tap down, firm down. As I say, you don't want the compost ever on tubs to come right to the top. There again, you don't want too much of, you know, this will settle down a bit when I've watered it, because then obviously if you've got it right to the top when you water it, the water will tend to just run off. And another great, you know, tip I think is people often set, you know, winter tubs, and then they don't go and look at them, and they can dry out. So this is going in a south-facing front garden, and so certainly if we have some dry periods of weather, I shall still be watering this one, and also occasionally giving it a very weak, you know, feed of plant food for the pansies and polyanthus. You know, perhaps once a month or twice a month, depending if I have to water it. That is. And so that's another bulb one there, so we don't want any crocus there. And I think I'm back to where I started there. So that is, we'll call it. And that's one of my first tubs. I can take my bits of marker stick out for where my bulbs are, and we'll now give that a good watering and see how it goes, and I'll get on and do the others, and I'll show you when they're all done. I'll just show you on this one. I'm doing this slightly different. It's going to have the same. It's got the same small tete-a-tete daffodils or narcissus in there, but in this one I'm going to try and cram a little bit more in this one, and I've got here 5. They're called City of Harlem. They're hyacinths, so I'm going to put those round, hopefully in gaps where they'll come up, you know, and that'll be March by the time they flower, so that probably be the last bulb that flowers in here. So the other bulb should have finished, and there should be room for them to get through the polyanthus and the pansies, no trouble. So just something a little bit different. You can really be as creative or as you want to be with bulbs. And just think I'm slightly disappointed in these tete-a-tete bulbs I've got. I've had a whole host in one packet that are just all horribly mouldy, and they're never going to grow. They're all rotten, and that's just something unfortunate that you live with. But when you pay for bulbs, you do really expect, a better quality bulb. Whether I email the bulb supplier where these come from and say, that they weren't very good at all. I have set the rest of them, but that's why I'm just sort of backing it up with a bit of fail-safe. So there is some, these look lovely hyacinth bulbs that I've got here. As you can see, that's a lovely firm bulb. You know, it's I can see a shoot down in the, so like the crown of the bulb there coming already through green. You won't see that, but so you know, that's just a bit of a fail-safe, and I'm going to kind of put them in a location round. Just, I think we might have a circle of hyacinths coming through, and hopefully that they should then avoid the polyanthus. If we stretch that one out a little bit, I'm not going to put any in the middle because I say that's going to be the polyanthus there, but they'll find their way through, no worries. If we divide those out, and there we go, we've got some hyacinths in there as well now, as well as I should put the I should now put my compost over that again like in the last tub, and then put my Iris reticulata on top of those, because as I say, they will come out first in very early February, we hope, he says. That's our 3 tubs done. We've got our polyanthus, our pansies, and our bulb. As I say, I'll put some pictures again of what bulbs I put in these, if anybody's interested. And whereas they might look a little bit sparse at the moment, you know, I'm really pleased with the plants this year. They're in excellent condition, so they should get away. And really, you know, I probably put too many pansies, you know, in 6 round it every tub and 3 in the middle, but I'd rather see a bit of greenery this time of the year, so I, you know, like to, you know, cram as much in as I can. I've just got to put a little few crocus in the gaps where there's no bulbs around here, and that's job done. I've watered those in well, and then I shall put them back in the position that they come from, and so there we go. Very easy. There's no, you know, nothing complicated about setting tubs in my view. It's very much an artistic license. You put in what you like and see how it does. You know, some years things do very well and other years they don't, and that is, to me, that is the total joy of gardening. I do like to see, you know, pansies and polyanthus and bulbs in although it's called winter bedding, I tend to err on the side of spring, because you know you're not going to see a lot of colour on this until probably, you know, February, March, April into May of next year, hopefully. So there we go. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you might have found this video a little bit of interest to you, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and all our new subscribers, thank you. It's the channel is growing, you know, it's brilliant, so thanks to everybody on that, and we'll be back with some more videos very soon, and till then, thank you again, and bye for now.